Welcome back, everybody, to the Wisemen Say podcast powered by Yamo. Oh, not powered by Yamo Media. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh
Woo.
Lord.
Welcome, welcome back to the Wisemen Say podcast. Ty Fisher alongside Jerald Lucas, my friend. How are you doing?
It's been too long.
It has been too long.
It
Way
seems
too
like
long.
it's been a whole year, even though it's been 2 months since the season ended. Uh, Preseason's already under the way, so we got what originally 30 days, 31 days?
31 days until first kick.
So cruising
So,
us. Let's go.
yeah. But happy to be back. First episode of the 2025 season. With that comes change, right?
3 years.
3 years in the making. And as you guys know, we've been kind of evolving little by little. We're getting there, we promise. But with that comes change, and we have a small change to the show. We have added a third host. You guys might have already saw him on the screen on accident, but we have a third host coming in. Appreciate all of the applications that have been sent in. We looked at every single one. I think we called each other on Sunday, and it was about an hour phone call bouncing back and forth between three, and then narrowed it down to two, and then got our one. So, without anything else to say, we would like to welcome Derik Abbott to the show as our third host. We always want to get another opinion, so it's not just two big heads blabbering back and forth. So, Derik, welcome to the show. How are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate joining the three-man booth now here, and I'm excited to talk about the crew. And it feels like it's been longer than the year before, where we ended in mid December, and this time a lot earlier of an exit than we would have liked. But I'm glad that we are back in the swing of things, albeit preseason, but still. I have been a crew fan for, since college. I mean, probably a good 15 plus years at this point. Season ticket holder for about 10 years, but even going to college at OSU, I remember making the trek over the railroad tracks, having the run-ins, having to make a fast entrance into the stadium to make sure that, everything was, okay with that. But pleasure to be here. I live very close to the stadium, so I try to get to pretty much every game as a season ticket holder. And I find myself consuming probably more crew than I need to at times, but that's what I love. And I'm just really happy to be on here with you guys and getting to chat about all things crew and MLS too. I jokingly always say that I at times despise the league for certain things that they do, but it's my team, it's my league that I love still at the same time. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me again.
You can never have too much crew in your life, honestly.
I have more than enough crew stuff to last me a lifetime already.
if you've been a season ticket holder, you said for about 10 years, right?
Yeah, 10 years, I think. It was either 10 or 11 years. I don't remember exactly.
It's a decade or more. So if you've been a season ticket over a decade or more, you can never have too much crew. Because you've already had too much crew, but there's no such thing as having too much crew in your life.
Unless you get credentialed.
Well, yeah, but then it's like, I mean, it's been 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 11 years for me that I've been credentialed. Man, it's crazy.
I'm on my third season.
Yeah, you are. When you first heard about the crew, what was the turning point in saying, hey, I have to be here?
Yeah, I would say I'm sure they were doing like student discount tickets in college, and admittedly I think the first time we went was like a $1 brat and beer night. And those always got pretty crazy. So those were always just fun in general. But we would play, I think it was like FIFA World Cup 06 back in college all the time, and got really into it, and then started to realize that, we weren't paying any attention at the time, but we're like, there's literally a stadium with our own team 5 minutes up the road. Let's start going to the game. So we would walk over there, walk back. It was very easy to get in and out and everything, which was great. My favorite player was Federico Higuain. I can't remember if he was there right exactly when I started going. But then I remember like my junior year when they won the cup that year. That was the like turning point of really, a lot of people can, say that. Of course, they win a championship. I'm like, this is not my favorite team, but it was exciting. And then we're like, we got to be in on it. And then as the years progressed, then that's when I was like, oh, season tickets, these are pretty reasonably priced. We should start going to them. So then we just started going to every opening game. We just kind of snowballed from there. So, but yeah, I would say the first intro was the infamous Dollar Beer and Broad Nights, admittedly.
Were you in the Nordeck at the time?
Yes, we were. So, those you remember a lot and sometimes very little at the same time in those days.
Oh yeah. One favorite thing about the crew before we start getting into the show.
Ooh, that's a great question. I feel like that it's, of course there's a lot of local teams here in Columbus, and I went to school at OSU, so you've got the Buckeyes and everything, but I felt like the crew was the most inclusive for like any fan getting into a team. Like if you really wanted to start liking it, everyone was always very welcoming. So you could get really into the crew and make friends through that very easily. And it felt like you were a big part of a small community at the time. It felt like that. Obviously, after Save the Crew and everything, you start to really realize the reach that they have. But even then, you could tell there was a lot of passion behind it. And it was a lot of fun to be a part of, going to those stadiums and feeling like you are a bigger member of the overall fandom than just, Ohio State. You go to a stadium, or even a Blue Jackets holds a lot of people and that type of thing. It's just been really cool, honestly, too, to see the growth of the fandom throughout the years. And I said Jerald's got the hat on. I feel like every time this time of the year, you see more and more and more people walking around in a regular Wednesday wearing like the winter hat and stuff. And you're like, clearly they went to a game and they must have really enjoyed it. So I really like how it just continues to grow.
What year was it that everybody for Christmas, it looked like minions out there?
I think it was like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, we played Vancouver Whitecaps. I remember that 4-0. Miguel Berry had a brace. I remember that. I think it was 22, because 23 we played Philly as our opener, and me and Jerald ended up going because Patrick Schulte got thrown to the Wolves because of the whole Aloy Room situation that was happening. So it was definitely 2 years ago. It was the Vancouver Whitecaps that we played.
It looked like a stadium of minions.
Yeah, everybody had. Well, it was also like 2 degrees outside.
It was freezing.
Yeah. But nonetheless,
Philly was a good road trip, though.
Philly was a good road trip, and their press box is ass. So anyway, bunch of news coming in from MLS in general. Couple things today. Wilfried Zaha going to the Crown Queen City for the Crown Charlotte FC. I liked him when he was a Man U player. Ever since he went to Crystal Palace, great player, attitude, horrible, in my opinion. That's just me talking, though. He joins on loan to Charlotte FC through 2026, I think, with a club option of 2027 as well. So, good move, bad move.
I mean, Dean Smith is going to be in his second year this year. And so him, getting some of those Premier League players over, that he's familiar with is definitely going to help, especially since what was it Carroll?
Carol
It's not.
Swiderski?
Yeah, he's not there this year. They got a bunch of young talent. Patrick Agumon. Um, I mean, they play on turf, so I mean, they got that to their advantage as well.
Yeah,
So
that's the equalizer. It feels like at all
Mhm.
times.
Joins on loan through 2026. He will occupy a designated player spot. This obviously article from MLSsoccer.com was before the whole Carol Swiderski thing that we will get into later. 32 years old, 100 goals, 59 assists in 524 professional matches. He was recently on loan with Lyon in France's Ligue 1. Club legend for boyhood side Crystal Palace, scoring 90 goals in 458 appearances. Represented England before switching allegiance to the Ivory Coast. Scored 5 goals in 33 appearances with the Elephants. That's never heard them called the Elephants before, but that's awesome. Representing his birth nation at the 2017, 19, and 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. So, alone with Wilfried Zaha, I mean, I think what you get in Zaha, you get a speedy forward that can easily kind of dazzle his way into the 18-yard box, right? Scores great goals. I think both feet, left and right. I think is good aerial wise also. I think the one thing though that is his weakness is his first touch is kind of heavy. But then again, of course, this was back when he was at Palace. I didn't watch much of him at Galatasaray where he came from. But I think his first touch kind of lets him down a little bit. And as I said before, his attitude is just here when it is trying to put himself above everybody. He probably means well too. Not gonna deny that. Probably means well, but you see soccer players, you just know that this guy has a slight arrogance to him. But nonetheless means well. And I think Charlotte could be very, very lethal this year, honestly.
we'll see.
Oh, okay. I thought something came in from the crew about AZ Jackson. Moving on, one of our favorite players, Yao Yaboa, closing in on the deal to LAFC. As far as I know, it's getting done. I haven't seen an official announcement yet, but he was picked 30th in the re-entry draft by San Diego FC. Now heading to the other black and gold, LAFC. I think it's a good move for him, honestly. With Max Arfston showing a lot of potential on that left side, I think maybe when we saw Max kind of make that jump to start over Yaboa in the 24 season, I think it was like, I think Yao's probably on his way out of here. He can get those minutes in LAFC because LAFC needs help. I guess the question to you guys, I think the question to you guys, Derek, I'll start with you, is what was it about Yao Yaboa that you liked when he was here in Columbus that could be an asset to LAFC?
Yeah, I think when he needed to start, clearly they were going, with a different change of pace. And I think that in general will give them that advantage, especially when they're starting to play these tournament games, because I believe that they're in a few of these tournaments as well coming up again. And I think that was kind of we saw it happen to us a little bit too, but the year before when they were running into that, where they were just running out of steam essentially by the end of the year. So I think them getting somebody like that who, you know, can come in, whether it be starting in some games or coming in off the bench. I mean, we were using the same way, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do the same. And now they probably want to use that a little bit of it, pick his brain a little bit to try to get better, because they weren't beating us when we had him. So now they're going to try to, you know, take a little bit of that information to hopefully improve their team too.
Joe, what say you?
What I loved about Yao was, you know, all the criticism that he faced about some of his turnovers, some of his, you know, it didn't. Sometimes it looked like he wasn't out there trying, but he still kept his head down and kept fighting and kept pushing on through like that 2023 season, and even in 2024. Um, I mean, once we saw Max take over right there after the Salt Lake City game or the Real Salt Lake game, you know, it you saw the writing on the wall, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm happy for him. He's out at LAFC. You know, if you can't beat Columbus, you know, might as well, you know, sign some of their players. I saw something on Twitter today. It was like, it's kind of weird that you sign your own daddy, you know, to a contract. Um, you know, and had Yao's picture, but Yao's drives to that final 18. The
Yeah.
way that he can cut, you know, cut in, but then also take it towards that corner, you know, freeing up, you know, like the likes of Cucho or Diego or, you know, even Darlington. You know, we saw in the 23, you know, the way that he could do those diagonal runs, and then, you know, you had somebody like Malde come in, you know, those two, that connection between those two in the MLS Cup,
Yeah.
they were working on that all year.
Yeah. I think with Yao also is when he would come on as a sub during the 24 season, he would automatically change the game. Right? He's a very quick, pacey winger. I think very good with his right. He has a good ability to cut in to the inside on his right foot. And he knows when to make those hard hitting runs, like you mentioned, Jerald, in the 23 MLS Cup. So that's it. Nothing is finalized yet with Yao Yabo, but it's looking like he's going to LAFC, and I actually have to talk about that at 10 o'clock tonight with LAFC people. So uh, that'll be fun. Our opening match, Chicago Fire, had DP winger Jonathan Bamba from Celta Vigo. Designated player, occupy an international spot on the Fire's roster pending receipt of his P1 visa and international transfer certificate. Contract through 27, club option for 28. Joins the Fire after participating in 338 matches in various competitions across Europe, including professional leagues in France, Belgium, and Spain. The Coupe de France, the UEFA Champions League, Europa League, and the Copa del Rey. During that stretch, Bamba scored 50 goals and recorded 53 assists across all competitions at club level. Also won 3 major trophies so far in his career, including the 2024 Africa Cup of Nations, the 2021-22 French Super Cup, and the 2021 League Championship. Haven't seen much on him, but that's a very good pickup for the Chicago Fire. Greg Berhalter is absolutely turning Chicago Fire around. Does it kind of scare you a little bit about the Chicago Fire and everything that they're doing ahead of February 22nd?
No.
Just straight like that? No.
No, I mean, for the simple of look how long it's taken Chicago Fire to start putting things together like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's been so long since the Fire have been, you know, I know I'm probably gonna catch flack from our buddy Nick over there at Glass House, but Chicago Fire hasn't been relevant in years. They've
He would
squeaked
probably
into.
agree with you.
Uh,
He
you
would
know
probably
they
agree with you.
they've sneaked into the playoffs maybe once or twice over the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, I don't know. I have to talk to Steve
Yeah,
Circle on that.
but I mean, it's just one of those where it's gonna take it's a full rebuild, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got a new GM, a new head coach. Yeah, Greg Berhalter's been around the game since the Flintstones were around.
Damn, he's not that old. God damn.
But you get what I'm saying. He's been
Yeah.
around the game for a long time, made stops here, US national team coach for, 2 stints now.
2 stints before Poch took over.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got a wealth of knowledge and experience that he's bringing in, and now can he get everybody to buy in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I
Can
was
he
gonna
get
say
people to?
too.
Yeah, can he get people? Can he get the players to buy in? Because if you can't get them to buy in everything that they've done this off season, you just shit out a ton of money.
Derik, given that you've been around the Crew for about a decade as a season ticket holder, you were probably around the time when Greg Berhalter was the head coach here in Columbus, probably also during that pitiful day, December 6th of 2015,
Yeah.
when it was
Yeah.
MLS Cup Day. When you look at the Chicago Fire, if you've been to Crew versus Fire games,
Mm-hmm.
and look at Greg Berhalter and his style of play, do you think this is a good match? Is it maybe one that we'll have to wait and see how it develops? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too about it always seemed with him, whether it be with the Crew or the men's national team, it was always a wait and see. He needed to get everyone to buy in. It never felt like with either scenario that it was going to be just a quick fix by any means. To me, they can bring in as many good players as they want, but if they're not buying into the system and they're not working on that, consistently, even like in the preseason, I'm not convinced necessarily that that's enough time for them to do that, at least right away. Now, maybe later half of the season, you can see it all kind of connect and be put together. But to start the season, I think my expectations would still be pretty low. But they're spending a lot of money and they're
Yeah.
overhauling the roster. So I think that, part of me thinks that he was a good enough coach, especially at the MLS level, to get people to where they need to be eventually. But again, do they have the people that are willing to do that as well? And I don't know that that's something that we'll be able to tell until probably halfway through the season, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Connor says Greg versus Nazi Week 1 in Columbus. That would be an instant classic for Columbus. I honestly think that would be a good matchup.
This is his
Greg,
first time back since coaching us, right? I mean, other than the US team playing in
yeah,
Columbus, he didn't do anything prior to that. So
no,
I'll be curious to see if it's any kind of like homecoming celebration for him or if they just kind of are like going
I
with the
I think
game.
no, I think there will be, because the times that he's been back in Columbus, he was with the U.S. men's national team,
Hmm.
and that whole thing isn't crew related, isn't crew run. It's U.S. Soccer
Oh
Federation.
yeah, good point.
So I think there will be. As you said, it's first time back in Columbus on the club side of things.
Hmm.
So I think there'll be something. I mean, he was in a hard time during that 17-18 season when the whole relocation to Austin thing was going
Oh
down.
yeah.
But I think I don't blame him for kind of not really jumping ship. at the worst time, because coaching the men's national team is probably a once in a lifetime chance, but
those seems like ones that you got to take if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I also think that if he would have stayed in Columbus for 19, maybe 20, I think it would have been probably the same thing kind of over again, because we hadn't made the playoffs in we made the playoffs again, but we didn't make it that far to like MLS Cup since 15 under Greg Berhalter. I think the farthest we got was Eastern Conference Final, when it was still the aggregate style against Toronto FC.
That was the year we beat DC before that, right? Or am I thinking?
No, in a penalty kick shootout.
Yeah,
in the shootout. Yeah, because I made a video of the that one DC player whose kick went over the net to the Celine Dion Titanic song.
No.
And I did, and then me and my mom, I had to go to school the next morning, but me and my mom went to John Glenn, or what was Columbus International Airport then, to welcome the team back from DC at like 2:30 in the morning. So that was fun. But yeah, this will be his first time back in Columbus since leaving the club back in 2018. Moving on, the LAFC again acquire Mark Delgado from Los Angeles Galaxy in exchange for $200,000 in 2025 general allocation money and $200,000 in 2026 general allocation money. 29, brings over a decade of MLS experience to LAFC, appeared in 309 regular season matches, 270 of those being starts, combined for Chivas USA, Toronto FC, and the Galaxy.
Wow.
Scoring 22 regular season goals and registering 38 assists. I'm sorry, hold on. 29, and he played for Chivas USA.
As soon as you said that is just wild to think. That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Throw, which means he was probably like, what, 17? This is something. He was a young guy. He's like Diego Fagundes almost, because Diego Fagundes started with New England at like 16, I think. Joins LFC after spending the last 3 seasons with the Galaxy. He recorded 5 regular season goals and 14 assists in 91 matches, 83 of those being starts. Here we go. After the folding of Chivas USA in October of 2014. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Okay, that's what it is. Product of the Los Angeles-based Chivas USA Youth Academy that got it first into the league in 2012, signing a homegrown contract with Chivas USA's first team at the age of 16.
Wow.
Made his pro debut on October 3rd, 2012, coming on as a sub in the 73rd minute against Vancouver. Jesus. So, wow. Okay. So,
topic for another day, but we should definitely look and see who was on that roster and if any of them are also still around. Because, like, I'm surprised it was back. It seemed like it was longer ago than that. Even that team folded.
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was
forgot all about that team.
I thought it was like 2012, 2011.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Oh, Chivas USA, man, that's great. I mean, there's nothing really much. I mean, we don't really pay attention to the West Coast teams anyway. But I do know that this next one, me and Jerald have fond memories of this one. You probably were you at the Cincinnati match last year at home, Derik? By chance, I think it was 2-1 final.
Since he won, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I was at that.
So Kevin Kelsey joins the Portland Timbers. He scored the first goal against us. Rising header in front of the Nordeca. Joins the Portland Timbers from Shakhtar Donetsk after Cincinnati traded his first right of refusal to the Portland Timbers. I believe it was just under $6 million in total. I know he had a lot of problems getting acclimated in Cincinnati. Does a West Coast move probably help in any way?
No.
Fair enough.
We're talking about Portland though. So
I view the Timbers as like the Cincinnati of the West Coast when it comes to like my teams, teams I don't like. So,
Or you like the Timbers?
No, I do not. This
Was it
stems
because
from
of the MLS Cup?
Yes, that, and then their owner Merritt Polson saying just like not great things during the Save the Crew time frame, and since then I'm like, I used to like them up until when they were bringing their giant log that they were sawing to our stadium and then beating us. I didn't like that. That's when I fell off of them being a good West Coast team for me to root for.
Yeah, I remember hearing that MLS told them that they couldn't take it into the stadium, but they brought it to Columbus anyway on the back of a truck that was decked out in Portland Timbers gear, and they parked it. Are you familiar with like the Nationwide Arena Plaza around that area, Derik?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that where they had it?
Yeah, because
I had no idea.
I can't remember what that bar was. There was a bar over there. Was an Irish pub that was right
Three-Legged Mare.
Yes, that's
what the Fanatic Sportsbook deal is now.
Yeah, that was the Timbers bar for that weekend, and the truck was parked right out there with the log, and there were people taking pictures, standing up on the truck, taking pictures with it. It was the day before MLS Cup. I remember seeing all of that all over Twitter, and I'm like, this is insane.
They could have literally went outside of Columbus and gotten they didn't have to bring the one all the way. That could not have been cheap to do that.
No, but I mean, Portland Timbers' first MLS Cup appearance, you gotta go all out.
That's true. You gotta go all out. That's very true.
Go big or go home.
Yeah. Well, and then Darlington Nagby decided to kind of stab us in the heart with that. But I think, I blame Tony Chani for not playing to the whistle.
Oh my gosh!
I remember that was like Jesus Christ. Jerald, question for you, Kevin Kelsey. Obviously, that guy he's very tall, right? When you see the Timbers and what they have now, Kevin Kelsey, is that possibly going to be a Golden Boot contender? Is that
not a Golden Boot?
Okay.
He's gonna make an impact though for Portland because they love to cross.
Yeah.
They love to cross, and they always were looking to find, Evander.
Who could be on his way to Cincinnati.
Oh my God.
Great.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna touch on that one, but I mean, it's one of those where he's gonna be in that box, and you can't miss the Jolly Green Giant. 6'5" or 6'6", 6'7".
Oh, Kevin Kelsey, I think he's like 6'4".
6'4", 6'5", still tall out there. Your average, height of the players out there are 6'2", 6'3". So, standing, a little
6'4".
taller, that 6'4", so he's going to have a little bit of a height advantage.
Yeah.
So they're going to try to find him, but he's not going to be a Golden Boot contender.
I just think it was crazy how when he went to Cincinnati, they were like hyping him up, like, oh, he's the next Landon Donovan. He's going to be like the best goal scorer. Da 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 da. Dude only scores like 4 goals for him and can't even start like 3 games in a row half the time. So it was like, okay, whatever. Staying on Cincinnati, Lucho Acosta is set to report to Cincinnati. He can join the team in Florida once he does his medicals. That was per Laurel Fowler. I think is that. Is it Laurel or is it Laura? Jerald?
I don't remember.
I think it's Laurel. She had mentioned that yesterday, so he would have been in Cincinnati today. Cincinnati is currently in Florida right now, so after medicals, Lucho Acosta can go down to Florida. No sign of Yakubo just yet. And that takes us to Miguel Almiron back with the 5 stripes of Atlanta United.
Did it get finalized?
Everything is pointing to it being done. Whether it's finalized yet, all signs are pointing to a Miguel Almiron Atlanta United reunion. So that's going to be interesting because he was very good. He was very good for Atlanta. Him and Joseph Martinez were an absolute dynamic duo. Absolutely terrorized every team in the East en route to their first MLS Cup in 2018. Good move, bad move? What were you thinking there? Because I know he was doing slightly good for, not slightly, he was doing really well for Newcastle.
I'll let you go, Derek.
It seemed like just a wild move to me, honestly. Like, I didn't, when I saw that, I was like, this can't be real, right? And it was. So it just is. What did they end up spending to get him back? Or was he just out of contract?
I have no idea, honestly. Everything that I see, it was just like it's just a deal in place. I would assume it's probably no less than maybe, no less than maybe 8 million.
They made a fortune off of him when they traded him, right? Or whatever I'm calling it. That's just, that's kind of an amazing fleecing by them to get all that money and then get him back only a few years later. But I guess they seem like a team that definitely needs a little bit more. So if that's ability with someone familiar, I know they've got new coaching and stuff now, so that might be a little bit different of a system than what they were doing before. But I guess it can't hurt overall, and they made money in the process of the whole thing. So I got to give them credit for that, I guess.
Yeah. I see possibly 10 million
to get him back.
Yes.
It seems like a lot, but if he was doing pretty good, it's Newcastle too, so it's not like they were going to just get him for nothing. So, you would think that would help him overall.
Transfer fee around 10 million pounds. So if we go currency converter, 10 million pounds is is it pound sterling? Does anybody know?
I have no idea.
I think it's roughly about $10 million. I think it's $1 per pound. So it's about equal given what Google says. So about $10 million. Miguel Almiron returns to Atlanta United. Also, really quick, this isn't on there. What do we think about Chicho Arango, Joseph Martinez, and who else was it? Is it Hernan Lopez as the 3 for San Jose? Yeah.
I love it.
That's a brutal dynamic. That's a brutal 3 right there. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Because my word.
And who's their coach?
Oh, Bruce Arena.
Oh my gosh! Is it?
Is
it? I completely forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah. Bruce Arena. Yeah. Bruce Arena is the San Jose Earthquakes coach. Now that is something that I absolutely love. I love,
and I'm glad they're on the West Coast, and we don't have to deal with them too often.
The only time that we might have to deal with him is MLS Cup, and I don't.
That's right.
Well, MLS Cup this year.
I'm okay with that.
Last one before we move on. Huh?
I don't see them. I see them getting into the playoffs.
They were kind of the darling pick to make the playoffs last year, weren't they?
They were. Mm-hmm. And then it was like middle of the season, they just fell apart.
Yeah.
But they were, as soon as Hernan Lopez went, they were absolutely killing the game. They beat LAFC in, I think it's Levi Stadium where the 49ers play. They went on like I think like 5-game winning streak, and then they just collapsed afterwards, and then it just kept going downhill from there. And then now Bruce Arena's in. He has what, like 2 MLS Cups under his belt when he was with the Galaxy, I believe 2, 3.
Yeah, was he the coach of the Galaxy when Beckham was there? Am I just like totally off on that?
I don't know.
I mean, he's been around forever, so
he's
like
been around
possible,
for quite
right?
some time. Last but not least, Jerald, you mentioned it earlier. Karol Swiderski, Panathinaikos agreed to deal with Charlotte FC for Karol Swiderski. I can't remember exactly why he wasn't with the club last year, or there was some trouble with the club and him, I guess. And then he came back, scored a couple goals, and was still having trouble with the club. I think it was over a contract disagreement. But he is now with Panathinaikos in, I want to say it's Greece. So that is a done deal. I thought I bookmarked that so I could talk about it, but I didn't. Oh well. So now let's talk about some stuff that we know probably a little bit more about. That's Columbus Crew news. As Connor mentioned, Marino Hinostroza reports say that Marino Hinostroza was sold to Atlético Nacional, who he was on loan with last season for $1.5 million. I have reached out to the club for a comment on context. They have nothing to share, so take that as you will. But we know that the Crew have re-signed Nico Hagen, goalkeeper, who is currently dealing with a broken finger. While the team, I think they're still in California right now. I kind of like that because when Hagen was brought in as a sub for the Real Salt Lake game after Evan Bush broke his arm, I think he did very well. And he did well with what he had to do when Schulte was gone during that time. Evan Bush was just fresh on the injury report. I think it was Atlanta who he played before the League's Cup break. I think he did really well. A lot of people were criticizing him about his movements and whatnot, how he was kind of hesitant on going out for crosses and whatnot. But I think with the proper coaching, I think he got better, especially during League's Cup.
Was he the one that started all the League's Cup games or most of them? Or what tournament was that?
Yeah, it was League's Cup. There was one game.
I thought he played pretty good in that.
There was one game. I think it was the Philadelphia game where Patrick started. But Nancy had, after the Philly game, after that game, Nancy had said that he had every intention on starting Hagen for the final if they made it that far.
Yeah.
So I think he's done very well for the Crew.
Did they say how long they signed him for?
Give me 1 second because I have the thingy my bobber right here. I think it's through the 2026 season.
It almost feels like that also is a bit of like reassurance if Schulte goes somewhere else or whatever may happen with that, because he didn't sign a new deal yet, right? But there had been talks of it at one point or another.
So apparently, from what I saw, I cannot remember where I saw it at, but the Crew want to re-sign Patrick, but it's just a back and forth between the club and Patrick's agent.
Lovely.
According to the report that I saw. I have to, if I can find it, I'll say who it is. But Hagen to a multi-year contract extension through 2026 with club options for 27 and 28. Oh. So we have him this year and next year, and then if the club wants it back for 27, they can in 28.
I like it.
I like it too. And I think it's I think it goes off of what you said, Derek. I think it's more so if the Crew can't get anything done, if they're in that talk with Patrick and his agent about a contract extension, I think he's probably going to go to Europe. Quite honestly,
he's been good enough that I wouldn't be surprised if there
Yes.
were suitors for him. So I would hate to lose him, obviously, but I like the idea that we've seen what Nico can do, and they obviously have enough faith to sign him to a contract that could be long term overall.
Yeah, Jerald.
It's a good move. You know, Bush is back. You know, the club picked him up for one more year. So you bringing in, you know, bringing back veteran experience and the host of Crew Feud and all that. But you know, it's one of those. It's you're playing the waiting game. You know what's going on with Patrick. You know he's still with the the national team right now. But you know what's gonna happen. Come when he's done with the national team. So I like bringing Hagen. There's a lot of depth that the Crew has there at keeper this year.
I thought I saw they have like 5 right now, technically, with
Yeah.
Hagen out with the injury, but
So it is Schulte, Hagen, Bush, Abraham Romero, who got his redemption match, and Stas Lapkus that they signed today. Same person, Stas Lapkus, who they signed today. Which I think we'll go ahead and jump to that to answer this question. I think it's more so depth than anything, with the possibility of someone outgoing, like we just mentioned. Patrick, I believe Patrick's ready for Europe. I know there was at one point in time, Arsenal, Manchester United were 2 Premier League teams that were keeping an eye on him. Not only with Columbus, but during his stints with the men's national team. So hoping that he goes somewhere else besides Man U, because Man U are absolute horrible. I want to say something else, but Man U is absolutely trash. Crew signed free agent Lassi Lapanainen. I can't believe I got to butcher that name. Lassi Lapalainen. There it is. His biggest season under Montreal, and during Montreal, was 2022. So he's very familiar with Wilfried Nancy's system. When I asked, I think it was me that asked the question. Was it Jerald that day in media availability?
You asked about him.
Thank you. Yeah. Said that he can get behind the opposition back line. He's good with both feet. I would love to see where he fits in. My guess is probably either the left or right wing behind Arfston or Farsi. But I also wouldn't be shocked if he's thrown in that front 3 somewhere with Christian, Diego, Cucho, Dylan, etc. When you first saw that signing, Derek, did you have any initial reaction to that? Did you check out the guy and what he has to offer by chance?
I like the idea that he's come from Wilfred's system. I mean, I think that helps a lot, because even last year there was questions about some of our mid-season additions and how well would they gel, and at times it looked really good, and other times might have left a little bit to be desired. So I do like that overall. It feels like he could slide in at one point or another. Also makes me wonder, does this signal that somebody who regularly is playing in the front might be kind of on the higher end of that list of potentially going somewhere else? Not that I have seen that anywhere or anything like that. But those are just kind of things I always wonder about. But I don't know how long, like, how old is he? How long has he been in the league? That I don't know about him.
Sorry, my mom. Sorry, my mom had texted me. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think he got his start with Montreal.
Okay.
Because I know it was during that time. That's not what I want. I want
Well, and in these, now that I'm thinking about it more, we're continuing to get into these tournaments by performing well, which is great, but continuing to sign depth pieces so you're not having, Cucho or Christian, out there just taking in so many minutes, where if you do need them for like a playoff or a stretch run towards the end of the season, you have to work. And not that I have, think that would be the case, but you don't want to risk any of them, or if just an injury. I mean, we got pretty lucky last year with not too many injuries on especially that side of things. But those are things that when you play these long tournaments, especially if you're playing them down in Mexico, or if you're playing them in these big football stadiums where they're using turf, like those are things now we have to think about way more than we've ever had to think about in the past few years.
Lassie is 26 years old.
Oh, that's good.
Played 16 matches, 15 starts for HJK Helsinki. I believe that is the Finnish top tier. 2 starts in the Champions League matches. Has scored 6 goals, including 2 in Champions League fixtures. From 17 to 18, competed with a team, I believe that's also in the Finnish division. That was on loan. Scored 12 goals in 39 regular season matches, adding 3 goals in the Finnish Cup. Under Nazi, career best 10 goal contributions, 3 goals, 7 assists in 2022, when Montreal finished second in the Eastern Conference with the franchise best 65 points.
You sold me on him. Right there, sold.
That's the one.
That sounds good to me.
Joined Montreal on loan from, I want to say it's Bologna FC.
Yep.
In July of 2019, registered 5 goals and 1 assist, highlighted by a brace in his MLS debut against the Philadelphia Union on July 27th. So this guy can absolutely get some stuff done for the Crew. Just touched on Stas Lapkus. Jerald would know much more about him. What can you tell us about Mr. Stas Lapkus and what he brings to the first team on a homegrown contract?
Well, he took over for Crew 2 after Schulte came up to the first team.
Correct.
And still was there, led the Crew 2 to the MLS Next Pro Cup in 2023 against Austin FC 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how that one ended. But he's last year he was putting in the work. We saw him out there training with the first team. I think by him signing this first team contract eliminates the problem that we ran into that Seattle match.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I have some conspiracy theories anyways about why Columbus wasn't allowed to have that emergency keeper. But I'm going to keep those to, I don't want to get canceled too early.
First episode of 2025 in Journal. My word.
But no, he's done really good to improve some of his footwork. Now that he's getting more time, training with the first team, he's able to, I don't know, I think they're still going to use him for Crew 2. But, having that homegrown contract with the first team now, they could call him up and he doesn't have to worry about, the cap situation.
That'll be nice.
Now we move on to a big question that I think every fan of the Columbus Crew have. Where should this team improve at? I've seen people on center backs, I've seen people on center mids, I've seen that the Crew aren't doing anything and that they should just throw the book at any and everybody. I think I caught a little bit of flack for that, but that's another story for another day. But taking aside the depth that we have now, is there a spot in which that you think that the Crew should improve?
Yeah, I think the center mids. I mean, personally, we saw last year. Um, and I don't know how much it got talked about outside of Crew circles, but first it was Aiden Morris getting constantly just knocked down nonstop, and then Nagby took the brunt of that, and then I think Nagby, amazing legend, up there in age a little bit, and I think now we're getting to where every year you kind of wonder, might this be his last one, or will some of that, his durability break down a little bit? And I think just as many people as you can get until you do find those rock solid replacements, which at least to me, we haven't found those exact people yet, or at least they haven't shown up regularly. So if we were to go get more, and I'm not necessarily someone who's pining that we need to go sign everybody, but I do see it on there too. That's what everybody would love. That's probably an area where I would look, if anything.
I agree. Center and center backs and some central mids. Maybe one more right winger. Because you got DeJuan Jones, you got Max. Trying to think who else. Now. Lapalainen, which I think he would be better to go with on Farsi side. So right back, right winger. So I mean, it's maybe one or two more wingers, but definitely some more. Definitely a right center back. Because we, don't get me wrong, I love the Swiss Army knife. But you need somebody that's constantly played that right center back.
Yeah.
Steven, is a converted right center back, but he's excelled at it. And he's now, it's gone, 3 years now?
Mm-hmm.
Under Nancy going to a right center back. So you need somebody that has that's played center back consistently. We could put back there, which I mean, we also have Andreas Herrera still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's
forgot about him. Honestly,
I always forget about him. Yeah.
But I mean, he's having a ball up here in Columbus. I think his wife just had their baby here.
Yeah.
So he loves it here, and under Wilfred, I think with him coming in when he did last year, we saw it in 23 that the players that we brought in at the summer break, at the summer window, it took them a little while to get used to Nazi's system, but hell, we went on a run and won the cup with those players. So, Andreas Herrera had 6 months with us. Now he's getting a full year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he can also rotate between center back and wing too.
Moving on. Botafogo have seized their pursuit of Cucho Hernandez. I believe that there was a report that was out that Cucho demanded $8 million salary. Tom Bogert has come out and absolutely squashed that. That was not true. But it does look like Botafogo has halted their pursuings of Cucho Hernandez. What's it? What do we have? What's in it for Cujo? Do you guys think we're signing him to a long-term contract that's still being the final details are still being hammered out before being presented to him, or do we think he's probably gone in the summer?
Go ahead, Derek.
I mean, logic would for us would dictate that or would say that we should be signing him, and
Yeah.
a lot of people I think would agree. Give him whatever he wants. I think he's got that type of value to the team from not just his play on the field, but on the overall, like the marketing standpoint, like all the stuff that you would assume the team and the ownership would want out of a player of that caliber. Um, I think outside of Messi and some of the obviously stalwarts that have been overseas for a long time, he is kind of the guy. Um, but this is the type of stuff that's going to give me like anxiety through like the first few months of the season, just constantly waiting for some kind of like tweet or something coming out saying he's going to get moved somewhere. We don't hear anything that he wants to be moved, so unless there's like some really nice deal out there with the team, I just think that like that team, who I've honestly never heard of, so I can't speak much to them. But I don't think that that's like the type of team that he's gonna be like, yes, send me to them. Like I think he would then want to go back to a Premier League team or something if he was going to make a big jump. Not that I think that there's obviously other teams that I forget if it was Monterey or who it was supposedly rumors were that they were courting or somebody like that, or that they were trying to get him, and I don't know if that would entice him or not, but it just seems crazy to me that we wouldn't put, whatever deal we needed to in place in order to keep him here. And I think every penny would be worth it at this point. I mean, nothing, at least from what I've heard or seen, thinks that wouldn't be, true.
You're absolutely, you're absolutely right. It was Monterey.
Yeah.
That also one of them. I know there was also a La Liga team. I think it was like Malaga, I believe, that were like they were just at the interest stage. They didn't submit any formal offer or whatnot. But yeah, I man, to see Cucho Hernandez at a Monterey kit would have been absolutely wild.
Right. That would have, talk about like just heartbreaking. That would be like that would just be bad. That would just be bad. That would be not good.
Oh my god. Malaga is it's La Liga 2. They're all the same. They play in Spain. Jerald, what do you say?
All right, so I think a long-term deal. I'm not going to say a long-term deal, but I see maybe a 4 or 5 year deal in the works being done. Now, to free up some of the money, they have to get done with the whole Deshaun Watson contract.
Somebody said just give Cucho the Deshaun Watson contract.
Do you think it's tied up in that?
I think so.
I do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the Crew's assets is also tied up in the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, like kind of put together. Yeah, I never considered that, but
because it's
certainly
all
would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's all HSG, Haslam Sports Group. So there's a clause that I think that they're working on with Deshaun Watson's contract, that they're investigating it, because if it's true, then the Browns can save 65 million, that because there was an insurance policy on his contract, because it was so big that if he violated some of the things, they would get 65 million back out of his contract. So that would free up some money. But I think that's what I personally think. I can't say yes or no, but I think with the money being tied up in the HSG, and Deshaun Watson's, ridiculous, guaranteed contract, it's sort of hindering, some of the stuff that Pilot Flying J can do, as far as branching out new stations, remodeling the Crew. And even with they also have stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. So, you're seeing a little bit of, some constraints there because of of that contract.
I mean, he's not going to play this year anyway. The guy, I think, tore his Achilles while on
time.
vacation. Yeah, while on vacation. So I mean, this guy is just probably just going to be able to ride the bench and just earn a shit ton of money doing absolutely nothing. Whereas
$65 million
Cucho
less.
I mean, sure. Whereas Cucho is probably going to be bagging like north of 20 goals this year, going for MVP and golden boot, and he's in his last year of his contract. I mean, he wants to stay here. He's made it known that he wants to stay in Columbus.
He said he wants to be the
Yeah.
captain someday,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, clearly, I mean, there's at least last year a level of commitment to that type of thing. It's painful to think that that's all. It could be all tied to the football team, and like, it's wild.
Now watch. We're gonna wake up the day before Christmas, and Tom Boger's gonna drop a bomb saying, "Hey, Columbus Crew has just sold Cucho Hernandez to."
No,
your mouth.
don't say that. Don't
Shut
say
your
that.
mouth.
I was gonna say, usually
I'm not waking. I'm not waking up the first game of the season, just like the whole Lucas situation. Damn it!
Oh, that was brutal.
Horrible. That was
a gut punch because we didn't know what we didn't know about Diego coming over either. So we were just like shell shocked. Like, why would you do this?
Yeah, everything came out. I think it was like 3 hours before kickoff.
That was
like before against Club American. It was just like, Jesus Christ. Nah, man, not today. Not today. And I remember I told Jerald this. We were up in the press box for that game. When he was walking off after they did like the tribute to him and whatnot, he stopped and was like just looking over at the Nordeca and just waving. I cried. I teared up a little bit.
That was sad for sure.
Gosh,
has
he been in the part? No. Lucas
Why
hasn't been
wouldn't
back.
we bring him back to give him his ring? Or I don't understand that.
So I do remember Bezbachenko before he left to go to Bournemouth, or the agency or whatever it is with Bournemouth. I do remember him saying that they want to do everything that they can to give Lucas a ring for the 2023 MLS Cup. Whether that happened, I have no idea, but I do know that he is back with his boyhood club that he came over with from to Columbus back in 2020. I think it's Belgrano. I think it is.
I think so.
He's back with his boyhood club. But man, and it was also like there was a whole thing to where we couldn't keep Lucas and bring in Diego at the same time because I think it was Nagby was occupying the DP spot, and we would have needed to bought Nagby down to a TAM contract so that way we could get a DP spot, and then. But I was just like, oh my gosh!
All while they were working behind the scenes, the league to get Messi and company to Miami. It's like crazy.
The fact that is happening, and it's Neymar is now with Santos. I think Santos Laguna in Liga MX. No. Sorry, I think it's Santos back in Brazil. I think it's his boyhood club. The fact that it's still a possibility that Neymar is going to end up in Miami with Busquets, Jordi Alba, Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi is an absolute. I cannot believe it. I absolutely cannot believe it. And I remember hearing, who was it? Jorge Mas. There was a question posed to him. I think it was. I can't remember when it was. But about Neymar and whatnot, and he said we have no budget. And I was just like, there's two ways you can take that. You can take that as they have no budget, meaning they have no more money to spend to get that caliber of a player, or they don't have a set budget and they're just willing to free spend whatever the hell they want. And
And the league letting them get away with it.
I'm like, why can't Columbus
Mhm.
do something like that? Like, I would love to see, I don't know, freaking Marcus Rashford in Columbus Crew black and gold. I would love to see maybe Cristiano Ronaldo in Columbus Crew black and gold, because that would be amazing. But I'm just like, I guess I have to like set myself a $50 billion budget on FC 25 and do it my own way. Golly. I'm just like,
Did you say Declan Rice?
I like Declan Rice. He reminds me of a younger Darlington Nagby. But last two, Hinestroza to Atletico Nacional. I did see, I think Connor had mentioned it in the chat. Yeah, as I said before, the club had nothing to say. But Tom Bogert, before we actually started, the Columbus Crew have rejected multiple offers for AZ Jackson from Europe. Jackson says that he wants to move to Europe. So I have no idea. He might be ready for Europe, but maybe, as Joe said, like a lower league, a lower tier, maybe championship side in England, League 2 in Spain, maybe something like that. But just from what we saw of AZ last year, what did you guys like? What did you guys don't like?
I loved him.
Yeah, I liked what he
very
did.
quick, very energetic, and he's also a game changer, because you saw him come in, and it was just one of those, when he came in, the other team was already tired as hell. So him floating around, and he made that one mistake and Nancy benched him. Like he got subbed on and made a mistake, and then turned around, Nancy brought him right out. But that was a whole learning towards the end of the year.
Yeah, it was one of the last few games. I don't remember when.
Okay.
It might have been Philly.
Yeah, you might be right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's he still has some learning to do, but
Derek,
I love guys like that. Like when we get these guys that they come on the field late, or they come on the pitch late, and they can just take over, because we have these speedy guys who bring a lot of energy and everything, and clearly the other team is just really low on energy at that point. And so I feel like he serves that role really well. I don't know if I've seen enough to think that he is going to be a starter at some point. It'd be nice. But at the same time, if that's really the role that they envision him in, at least for now, and some club wants to come along that he's interested in and wants to pay us a fairly good amount of money, it's not the end of the world for me, but I would like him to develop here in that type of role, and then, eventually become a starter would obviously be nice. But I'm always big on any of the people that kind of fill that role, where they come in and just take over a game because of their energy and just being on fresh legs compared to the other team. And we seem to do that a lot under Wilfred, which I absolutely love.
Yeah. That's it for crew news. Does anybody have anything else they would like to share before we move on to the last segment of the show? What?
We talked about Chivas USA's 2012 roster.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only name that stood out to me that's still in the league, Tim Malia.
Tim Malia, oh my God.
Wow.
Yes. That guy.
That's the only one on that roster from 2012 that stood out to me.
Wild.
Tim Malia is absolutely crazy. 2012. Hang on. Yeah, let me see something really quick. No. Yep. Hey, Marco Delgado. Juan Agudelo, I don't know where he is. Shawry Joseph is now an assistant coach with the San Jose Earthquakes with Bruce Arena. Yeah, Tim Melia. That guy's the only one that stands out to me too. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Chivas USA was a. It sucks that they folded.
It would have been a fun team to just talk about and watch.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So
one more thing.
What's up?
As everybody might know, Crew 2 is still looking for a head coach. As Kelvin Jones went to go do better things, and he's now an assistant on the first team for San Diego.
Oh, is that where he went?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay.
So he's on a first team now.
Wow. All right. Good for him. I remember getting that embargo, but there was like no mention of like what his next move would be. So that's good that he found somewhere. Last segment of the show, Jerald. It's our favorite. It's everybody else's favorite. Derik, I believe I mentioned it to you off camera. But for those who don't know or who just tuned into the show recently, this is yellow card, red card. So basically, how it works is this is something that can be not soccer related. It can be soccer related, but you don't have to make it soccer related. A yellow card would be something that you don't like, but you can live with. For example, mine would be, I can't remember the example I gave earlier. For example, mine would be, my mini PC kind of froze on me before getting everything situated because it was running too many programs. Yellow card because I wanted to use my PC because I have dual monitors right here. But at the same time, I understand that Adobe Creative Cloud takes up a lot of running power. So that's why it kind of lagged out on me. Red card would be something you absolutely hate, you cannot stand, you wish it was it is the bane of your existence. So for example, this didn't happen
FC.
today. What?
Kentucky FC.
Well, that's like everybody's, but still. This didn't happen today, but Chipotle messing up your order for like the 10th time in a row. That's the bane of your existence. You makes you not want to eat Chipotle ever again. So we're gonna go around the horn. Probably starting with Jerald. We'll go Jerald, me, Derik. Since you are the newest addition to the Wisemen Say podcast, we'll give you some more time to probably think of a yellow card or red card.
I appreciate that.
But Jerald, what is your yellow card and red card?
So my yellow card is Sun Life Financial for messing up and not sending the paperwork over for me going back to work off of disability. So I've been. Everybody knows I've been out for almost a year. Dealing with some leg issues and a back issue, and got cleared to go back to work. And now, I've had to pretty much sit at home when I was supposed to go back on the 16th because Sun Life did not send over the proper paperwork. So that's my yellow card. I can't, I got to deal with it. Now, my red card, and I will speak for everybody, every human on this planet right now, is this damn winter this year. Yes, that is my red card. There's pictures of people playing hockey on Bourbon Street because the streets are iced over.
Yeah, I did see that.
Destin, Florida, a real big vacation spot. It's got snow. Like, what the hell is going on? You got you got Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, in Mortal Kombat going on with West Coast being Scorpion and Sub-Zero being here on the East Coast. So we have them, a real life Mortal Kombat round right now?
Probably.
But that's my red card.
For me, my yellow card had to be the amount of renovations that was happening at work today. Two admissions reps decided to have windows installed on their doors. The second one, whose room is basically connected to my sports studio, and as I'm trying to teach my student, I just hear drilling and a saw going off, loud as hell, with students in the recording studios to my left trying to do work. Brought that up. I was just told you got to deal with it. I was like, all right, whatever. That was kind of annoying because that was very distracting. So that's my yellow card. My red card would have to be the absolute forgetfulness of me having to re-up my Xbox Game Pass. I can't play online games anymore, so I'm stuck to playing college football and Apex. So that's my red card. I'm gonna give one to myself. Derik, my friend, how about you?
My yellow card is changing. And I totally can live with it, and I understand why we have to do it. But like every 30 days, having to change your passwords for any work-related logging into your computer, anything, and you can't use one of like your last 12. So inevitably, like you are just making up words out of thin air to try, and then you have to try to remember them 9 times out of 10, which I never do. And so I've run into that recently where I've gotten to the point where I've used everything I can possibly think of. So I despise it, but I also understand the security of it all. So I can live with it, but I will not do so happily. Red card. Actually, I should have had the article pulled up. I literally just read about this. I think it was yesterday. The lead singer of Toto reached out to Weezer's frontman to like try to share a bond with him over both of them doing Africa, and Weezer covering that song like what 2-3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And supposedly, I think it was like People Magazine or People.com, something like that. They interviewed I don't remember his name offhand, the lead singer of Toto, and he said that whatever the interaction was, which he would not dive into what it was, went very poorly, and said that he felt like the Weezer frontman might have done the cover to kind of just like clown on the song, and that the song then became popular with newer people who didn't maybe know the original or just liked a new version of it, and thought that it was funny now that he didn't think that Weezer actually liked the song but now has to cover it at all their concerts. And that made me think about how much I absolutely despise their cover of the song, and that I'm glad that they do not play that at crew games. So it's a red card. I could do without it forever, and I'm glad that he came out and said that he also felt like Weezer clowned on it, and then that way now they have to play it all the time, even though they may or may not hate it. Also,
I hate Weezer's cover of that song.
It's just
I hate it. It's a classic song. Why do you have to touch it?
And they did it in exactly the way you would expect it to. Like it sounds exactly like you would expect a Weezer cover song of that song to sound like, and it's just not good.
Yeah, no, I can't stand it.
I did see that there was a cover by 18s for Can't Help But Falling in Love on the Moana or not Moana, but the Lilo and Stitch soundtrack.
I will have to give that a listen.
Yeah, same.
I'll have to try
I loved it. I turned on the Lilo and Stitch soundtrack when I was doing my Lilo and Stitch puzzle, putting it together. And all of a sudden, I heard the lyrics, and I'm like, hold on. Did they really just do it? And I had to look at it, and it's literally by 18s. Can't Help But Falling in Love, on the soundtrack. And I'm like, well, it makes sense because Lilo and Stitch having, a shit ton of, Elvis references in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had that song in there, and I'm like, okay, I could get with this song.
All right, that's our homework. I will listen to that.
Yeah,
and
for
see
sure.
and give a take on it or opinion next week.
Anything else anybody wants to add before we wrap up?
It's great to be back.
Great to be back. It's great to have a third voice, Derik. Thank you so much for
I appreciate
doing
it. Thank
this.
you for the invitation.
So that being said, Jerald, Derik, my friends, it has been a good time talking crew soccer, MLS soccer in general. You guys can catch us on YouTube at the Wisemen Say Podcast, on Twitter at Wisemen Pod, on Instagram at the Wisemen Say Podcast. You guys can find Jerald
At Jerald_Lucas 96.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Fisher Tyler __. You guys can find Derik
at Funky Moses 17.
And you guys can listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Google, iHeart. There was another podcast platform I have to add on here. I can't remember what it is. Or you guys can watch on YouTube, Spotify, and Goals TV. That, my friend, as tradition goes, Wisemen say,
Only fools rush in.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good week. Stay safe, stay hydrated, stay cool, stay warm. Go Crew.
Go Crew.
Stay wise, y'all.